Something I've thought a lot about with the podcast is the FMO that I originally got into business with. The very first the first entity that contracted me as an insurance agent. The principal of that FMO, the CEO, the head of the FMO, I maybe heard from that person once a month on a conference call, if that. They were so far removed from the business. I think the sort of value and transparency that we provide, the fact that we are not just accessible to our agents and our downline, essentially every day of the week, but that we're broadcasting in the way that we are. I think about how much that's changed, that paradigm has shifted, because again, the principal of the FMO, the CEO, the person that I got contracted with, I essentially never heard from. And he was like hidden behind a curtain, like the Wizard of Oz. So I think it is interesting to look at how much the FMO model has changed. I do feel like that the FMO has had to, the IMO FMO. And for those of you, if you're brand new, someone commented they're new in the comments today. So I do want to take a second and explain, because I know we talk a lot of acronyms. And if you're new, you might be like, what the hell? Like, what is this? FMO stands for Field Marketing Office, or organization, office organization. And IMO stands for Independent Marketing Organization. Essentially, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. I've heard some people get into the weeds on this where they've tried to claim an FMO is actually bigger than an IMO. I've actually seen that argument take place, but they're interchangeable.
There's a lot of interchangeable terms, NMA, NMO.
An NMO would be big. NMO would be bigger, right? National Marketing Organization, would you say, is bigger than an FMO?
Here's the thing. The term FMO means something different with every carrier. Right. So it's not going to be a blanket statement, but typically my definition of an FMO is a larger, more established organization that can get higher contracts, that contracts agents underneath them. That's my definition. But the term FMO with one carrier might mean they're the top of hierarchy. With another, it might mean the SGA level.
True. Right. That's totally correct.
So to me, it's more like, a large organization that contracts agents underneath them. They're bigger, they're more established, they have a lot of production, so they're able to get larger contracts and allow a hierarchy to be built underneath them. That's basically what my definition would be.
Yeah, so you have layers to this whole model. Again, for the newer agent, if you're watching or listening to this, GA, you're a general agent. That's like a field agent. MGA, managing agent. So you typically have agents underneath you, whether that's an LOA or downline agents. And what does S for SGA stand for? What is
super
special?
General agent?
Super general?
No,
is it for? Kidding. I was like, yeah, super.
Oh,
super general agent.
I used to know Superman. Used to know somebody that thought MGA stood for Master General Agent. I'm like, yeah, the master.
Master General, I'm here.
No, but so SGA means a couple of different things.
What's the acronym stand for?
So I believe it stands for Special General Agent.
It really is. It's special. It's special general.
I know with one carrier is that, at least. I'm going to look it up now.
It probably is. So my understanding is SGA is over MGA, right? And again, these are super subjective terms. That's the part of the conflict. And this ties back to what we were talking about with CMS not understanding our industry. There's so many terms like this that are either interchangeable or mean something different to whoever you're talking to. You're talking to one carrier, you're talking to one agent, one FMO, and these terms might mean different things to different people, and that adds to a lot of the confusion in this space.
And here's the thing, right? Like what you just mentioned is a very typical simple breakdown of the hierarchy, but a lot of carriers have several levels in between these levels, right?
Correct. Yeah.
In the Med Sup world, a general agent means something totally different than it does to a Medicare Advantage contract. So like a general agent in the Med Sup world means you're an independent agent and you're paid direct. That's all it
Yeah.
means.
Yeah.
And so like I've had conversations with people that mostly deal in the Med Sup world. They're like, well, that's not what a GA means. I'm like, well, to Med Sup and to MA, they're totally different things. So
Yep.
same word, different definition. So like I feel like it can get super convoluted and in the weeds if you try to really place blanket labels over everything, because everything's going to be a little different.
I totally agree. And that's part of it's honestly, I wish there was a standardization of terms like this that all carriers, CMS, all agents utilize. It would probably help clarify a lot, because it's kind of created this smoke and mirrors situation where, and a lot of times it's not even necessarily on purpose. It's just, again, confusion among the industry about these terms. But so again, this is an oversimplification of what's going on that I'm trying to explain for a new agent. But so you got these levels, and I feel like this is kind of a hard. That's probably its own pod right there. We could probably get in acronyms.
We could go off into Pluto on that, but
we could go to Pluto, not a planet, but we could go to Pluto and talk more about it. But anyway, so you have all these levels, FMO, IMO, that's kind of at the top here. And over time, I agree. What Christian said earlier is, the FMO or IMO has really, in my opinion, in order to be more competitive and because of the internet and transparency, I think they've had to offer more to try to incentivize agents to contract with them, to work with them. Back in my day, when I was a little boy and I got contracted,
little Glenny.
It was, all I got was like 2 days of training and access to direct mail leads. That was essentially it. The carriers. So, hey, here's some carrier contracts. Here's direct mail leads. And, Agent Joe over here is going to train you for 2 days. That was literally my entire value model that the FMO gave me. There was essentially nothing else. Now, a lot of these FMO, it's like, here's ongoing training. Here's I guess technically they had maybe one trip a year that you could qualify for, but now it's like your FMO or IMO might have multiple trips. There might be a trip that you can just go to as being part of the downline. There might be a trip you can win based on production. There's training that's ongoing. There's training that's online, maybe a content library. You might have ongoing training that you can be a part of as far as an agent, whether you're experienced or new. All sorts of lead options potentially, right? Maybe there's something that can help you with digital marketing. It's wild how long the value list can be. Again, as IMO and FMO owners, Christian and I are really trying to be competitive with our agents, with our downline. Like, we want to offer as much value as we possibly can. So I do think that it has grown a lot, and we want to help agents. But now this is where we come back to the topic at hand. This is where we come back to the title of the episode is, let's say you have an FMO or an IMO who's literally willing to do almost anything for you, right? Let's say they have a huge value list. We can do this, we can do that, we can do this, we can do this. Where do you choose to draw the line as an agent or agency owner, where you say, hey, thanks, dude, but don't do that. I don't want you to do that.
So I feel like, okay, let me, I have a lot of thoughts I want to share on this, because the topic at hand is specifically your FMO contacting your clients for you, right? Maybe to do customer service, maybe to do work on a claim, something like that.
Sure.
To me, and there's a broader conversation I'm going to kind of lean into with this, but to me, I would never allow it if I was an agent.
Ooh, and right to the point.
And the reason is
sharp.
I believe there's a couple of different reasons. Reason one is there is no FMO that I trust enough to have access to my clients like that. Even if they're the best guys in the world, everyone is great until they're not. Remember, the FMO agent relationship is a relationship. It's that. It's kind of like someone, I was listening to a podcast actually this morning, and they were talking about wealthy, successful people that get married without a prenup. And so, he's talking about, like, I know this guy is worth $50 million, got married, didn't get a prenup, said we're in
Yeah.
love, got divorced, and gave up half of his fortune that he worked his whole
Right.
life for. And, he's complaining about it, he's whining about it. And the host of the podcast was like, I don't feel bad for them, because you should have protected yourself. You chose not to. I kind of think about it almost like in similar terms, in terms of a marriage, right? Like, I want to run my business in a way that if I had to leave that FMO one day, if they decided to change something, I found out they were doing something nefarious, that, whatever the case might be, I'm not so reliant on them that I feel like I'm trapped and I can't leave. I want to set up my business to where I hold the cards. I have control. So that's number one.
If you just happen to grow apart, you just happen to grow apart from your FMO, and it's just not the same.
I'm not
It's
into
just
you,
not.
honey. But I see agents all the time that, like, their CRM's provided from their FMO.
Yes.
Like, they're almost like spoon-fed like a baby.
Yes.
And their
Yes.
FMO has full control over them. They don't have any control over their
100%.
business. If their FMO
Absolutely.
decided they wanted to change something, their business would collapse. And that's
Yeah.
scary to me. You're putting your
Yes.
destiny in someone else's hands. And at that point, you might as well be LOA.